talk about teamwork, because I think that's where we need to start. Okay, some of the things that I've been just praying through and trying to see is how do we create a team that's built to last. All right, and this is important for you guys as well to look in every area of ministry that you lead. If you are a part of a team, how do you build a team that lasts? You know, that will go. My mind went as I was praying through this of like when Jesus was picking the disciples, those guys had to last, right? Now, they lasted so well that we're all here because of a lot of their work that they did. So the first thing we do know is this is picking, we have to get out of the mindset that anybody is good for anything. You hear what I'm saying? Like anybody can do the job. First of all, what it does is this, is it devalues your ministry. Like I'll just take any Joe Schmo to be with kids, to be with youth, to do whatever it might be. No, that's not true. People have to fit into a gift set. Why? Because you value this thing, okay? The only way you're going to have a team that's built to last is if we look and we go, not everybody's fit for everything. Now, where we become a good team is we say, you're not a good fit for me. However, you'd be great. You know, you're not really good necessarily with kids. We're not sure if that's your passion. We appreciate your heart that says thank you so much, but it just seems like you are a prayer person. I want to hook you up with Pastor Moses, and we have to get you on the prayer team. So when it stops at you, when you just go, this is not a good fit, it can't stop at that, okay? It has to move forward and say, but where can they fit? Because when people hear they can't fit in your ministry, they're done with our church. And then they move on and find a place that they can fit. Our job is to facilitate people to the respective place that they have to go. So the first one is remember, not everybody fits everywhere. Okay, that's just kind of a precursor. But I want you to know this is we have to look at, yes, we deal with people, okay? So when we're dealing with people, we look at them and we go, so it's them and then it's us as leaders, right? There's leaders, there's followers, there's shepherds, there's sheep and stuff. So we say that not everybody fits everywhere, yes, but before we even do that, you have to do this. You have to be aware of how you work. Some of the things I wrote down here, and there's just 6 of these, you have to be in touch with this. You should be able to communicate your style, your technique, okay? What makes you run? What makes you click there as a leader? The biggest thing that you have to do on that is this. You have to hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable to your own standards. Everybody turns in a job description and everybody turns in their own goals, okay? Don't raise your hand or whatever, but how many of you have looked at your goals since you turned them into me? I'll be honest with you. I turn in my goals every year and I never look at them again a lot of times. Now, I keep my goals right on my desktop, so they're open. There's very few things I keep on my desktop after I clean it up, but my yearly goals, they never go away. They're always right there because I want to look at them. Why? Because when I go to the annual business meeting, I want to communicate, these are the goals that I set before you. And listen, I'm not stupid. Nobody remembers the goals I say at the business meeting. But I know that, first of all, the Lord does, okay? I'm accountable to Him first and foremost. So what I do is I go back to those. And things, I don't beat myself up if I'm not reaching those goals, because let's say goal 1 got 90% of my attention this year. And I didn't get through goals 2 through 5, but I did pretty good on, let's say, 6 and 7. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to look back on the next year's goals and go, this is why it didn't happen, okay? But you have to have tough conversations with yourself. Basically, be your own boss, okay? I am your boss. I'm going to oversee all of the things that you do, but I also want you to make sure that you are policing yourself. Be accountable to yourself. And do me a favor, too. Be flexible. We are a culture here that goes every once in a while. I'm going to look at Keston after this meeting, and I'm going to go, Keston, I really need you to help me out with the playground there. There's weeds growing in there, the thing's falling off. Well, Keston has to be flexible to go, Pastor Jimmy's asking me to do this. Now, his job is to go, I'm not going to be able to finish if there's something else that I'm expecting out of him that day. Do you understand? But the process is him communicating. Now, that's our culture, right? We know Caleb's got 550 bags that we need to move, right? We're in the middle of 15 things. We all have a great culture here that we're going to stop and we're going to do it. We're going to be flexible, but we can't not finish that job there as well. Or we at least have to communicate as a team, hey, I need some help because I was helping Caleb do this, or I was helping Craig pull down a wall, whatever, ABC needed this going on. We have to be flexible. What we do not want, and I've said this before, you cannot work here if your job description is just what you do. All I do is my job description. You won't fit in here. Why? Because I understand my culture. I understand how I work as the leader, right? That is my style. My technique is to have people around me who can go, yeah, I'll go mow the grass. I'll go do this. I got to adjust here a little bit. I'm going to take some time off because I work later. That's all good. But what we have to do is we have to keep ourselves accountable, be flexible, and at the same point, get the job done. The second thing, I want to look at is this, is we're bad at this. And it probably starts with me. Get to know the rest of the team. Get to know each other. Hang out with each other, okay? We're more willing to help each other when we know each other, all right? We are in the people business. Now, that's not just in this room, but that's the people that you serve, okay? Tell me. I want to hear. I'm taking out the prayer team for a lunch, a dinner, whatever it might be. I'm going out to lunch with this youth leader, these kids' ministries. We're doing these things that are, hey, they're just lunches, they're things like that. Take initiative even in here. Just say to yourself, like, hey, let's mix it up a little bit. Ask each other out to lunch. Even if it's not to go out to lunch, hey man, let's go in the access room, let's just chat a little bit, you know, just spend time to get to know each other. I think it's not, we don't want to do that. Now us, we're all different in this room. This is a very, if you look, we all don't like work out. We're all not into cars. Like we're all not into the same thing. So it's a very eclectic group. And I'm always impressed and I brag about how well we work together because we're so different, right? Some churches you go to and it's the same person. We are not that. And I do love that about it. But what we've got to do too is not just care about our own ministry. We got to care about everybody's ministry. The children's ministry is successful when they care about the youth ministry. Youth ministry is successful when they know ABC is working well, okay? So on and so forth. Women's, men's, we have lay leaders that we've raised up in the last 2 years, right? You think men's, women's, they're ran on laity right now. Missions of the whole committee, it's laity, right? So we've got to care about their ministries too. Alpha, so on, all of these things that go on. We care about cross ministries, and what we're really called to do is to see each other as puzzle pieces, okay? This puzzle only comes together if we all work hard to get put together, see how we fit together. But the most important thing is this, is really look in your heart, invest time with each other. Okay, be intentional. Get to know one another. Spend some time. Go after work. Go on a lunch here, whatever it might be, but just to get to know each other. The third one that would pertain to your ministries is this, and this is, I think, another area we need some help in. I picked all long words. Clearly define every role and responsibility in your ministry.
Does that say role or rules?
Roles. Define every role. And here's the hard part in our church, okay? Here's the real hard part. We're in that weird position. We're not a small church, right? Like most Pennsylvania churches. We're not like 50 to 100 people. We're that right underneath the 300 mark. So we're not big either, right? That 500 mark that guy's like, oh, we have plethora, we're good. So the tendency is to do this. I'll just find somebody to fit it in, and what's their job description? Oh, just come in and play with kids, or just come in and clean the thing. No, we have to get to the place that says if there's something to be done in the church, it needs a job description. It needs to have a clear job description that goes with it. At every aspect is covered in that job description, whether the role is filled or not. So, for instance, use an example. Caleb is helping every other week with worship leader for Keston until Keston finds a worship leader, right? Well, Keston needs to come up with a job description for a worship leader that says, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who can do practices on Sunday afternoons and then be ready for Wednesday night. And then to train and lead young people to lead worship, encourage them to lead out songs, train volunteer musicians, blah, blah, blah. All of these things need to be on there. Now, is there anybody that fits that role right now in our church? Of course not. Not that we can see right now. But when he finds them, he's ready to go with it. So whether it's nursery worker, whether it's TCM driver, whether it's prayer ministry, whether it's ABC, whatever it might be, every single role should be clearly defined in every aspect of that job description, because then you also know what to say no to.
if they don't fit your criteria, coming back to your style and your technique, right? You put on there somebody who needs to be flexible and work with me, then they don't fit within that role. Make sense? This next one is this. Be proactive to feedback. Okay? We talked about this a little bit before. I think we started recording, but be proactive to feedback. And here's the key. If we're doing this, okay, if we're doing this well, this will never be a problem. If we're getting to know each other well, feedback is never a problem. Why? Because you know I want the best for you. If you're getting to know the people who are underneath you, and then you got to pull them aside because you go, you know what, this person just said something that was crazy, or this person just did something under my authority in a ministry, well, they're not going to mind the feedback as long as you get to know them. You know when they're going to mind the feedback? Is when you just expect them to just be here, do it. It's a body that's filling a need, and you don't really care about them. The same thing's going to happen inside of this office when we go, hey, you forgot to move this whole thing. Well, he's going to get mad at me if I don't really know him. He doesn't know I love him and care about him and want to see him successful. So that's our jobs, to make sure that we pour into each other, that we get to know. But the onus of feedback is always on us, okay? Based on the heart of what a person, here's this, the simple thing is ask, is this person right? Don't ask how their delivery is, okay? Delivery needs to go back on the other person, right? If my delivery is poor, that's on me. But at the same point, we have to look at it and be mature and go, but is he right? You know, is he right? He's right in one aspect, but he's wrong in another aspect. But your job is to focus on the thing that we're talking about there. But he is right? I never get this in on time. Now, the way he said it was terrible, but I don't get it in on time. That will put our heart at ease to just go like, okay, I have to receive the truth out of that, but I'm going to go back and tell this person, listen, man, the way you delivered that was terrible, okay? Feedback is a lot more acceptable when we know people care about us, when we know people love us, when they go to bat for us, when we're encouraging, when they do something right, when we're noticing those things. And what you don't do is do not wait until the problem is already beyond repair, because then you're just in collateral damage mode. Okay, then it's just like, let's try to fix this thing, when in reality we could have fixed this months ago if, number one, we weren't scared to give feedback, but also receive feedback. All right, this is a very, very important aspect, but this works when that's strong. Last two is this, and this is for your volunteers, and this is, as you'll know, I want to create this culture. I want you to help me create this culture. What I'm asking you to do, and I'm telling you, is I'm not very good at this. I'm a good encourager, but I'm not really always good at rewarding things for people. It would be super helpful for you guys. You saw that I just did it last week. I did the volunteer spotlight in the newsletter. That had been something I've been wanting to do for years. I kept asking myself, remember, how many times have we canceled the volunteer appreciation dinners, right? Number one, because I would get frustrated, and this is where we have to do it together, is number one, don't take people's performance for granted. When people do something, let's create a culture that is like, you are awesome. Let's pretend they created water, okay, to the point, so that people go, I want to work for them. Like, I want to serve behind them. Let's really, really do that. Don't take performance for granted. Look, if there's something that we can put on a newsletter for a volunteer spotlight that's going to go to everyone, tell me, please, let me know. Don't let me miss those opportunities. And here's where I get frustrated, that this is my learning. Do not get frustrated if they don't appreciate your acknowledgement. You do what you're supposed to do. If they do a good job, you go, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. Remember, this is all about our leadership, not their lack of appreciation. It's not about their lack of receptivity. It is about, what do we do as a strong leader? A strong leader acknowledges and rewards, and that's why I've fallen, because I go, well, nobody even cares if we do a luncheon anymore, so let's just not do a luncheon. No, we still do a luncheon, and if 4 people come, we make it like those 4 people just, invented the greatest thing in the world. And so that's the culture we have to start creating, which means verbiage, which means, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Whether it's you tell the breakfast ladies every single morning, you go up to the board members who are volunteers. I understand they're our bosses, but they are volunteers, right? So any responsibility they take on, they're not getting paid for what we get paid to do. That's above and beyond what they already do. Worship team members, TCM people, right? children's volunteers, the Sunday mornings that you're walking. Thank you so much. Like, oh, it's so good to see. I really want you to know I appreciate this so very much. All right, let's create that, and this will kind of add to this. Is I want you with your groups. I want you to celebrate successes. Okay, I want to hear from your ministries like, this is what happened. I had whatever it is, whether it's the worship team did such a great job helping this, so I'm going to take them out to lunch. That's for you, Billy, watching this on video. But if it's, man, they did this. Tiffany is kind of the queen of celebrating successes. If you need inspiration, go tell her the situation of what somebody did and ask her, how would you celebrate this success? Because she's kind of one of the best people that I've ever seen celebrate the successes of people that are underneath her authority. I've learned a lot watching her. I want to learn more, from that as well. We can all get better at that. Celebrating those successes in a way. If we want to use, Sunday morning, if we want to just you want to do something on your own, and you go, can we get some finances for it? Let's have our people. Here's where the goal is. When we start hearing the vernacular for our people, that goes, man, that leadership loves their people. Okay, that leadership loves their people. Not that leadership puts on a good church and a good service and all that, but it's like, my goodness, that church loves their people. We have to be intentional about creating that atmosphere. And these are leadership. If we create this in us, we'll be a team that lasts. If you create these in your teams that you have, I don't care if you have one person, I don't care if you have 15 or 20 people underneath you, all of these can be implemented. Every one of these aspects can be implemented in the context just of your team, and how you can get a team that stops this revolving door of people who serve, people who don't serve, people who say they're going to do something and they don't. You know why that happens? Because we just take anybody on. We just say everybody can come on. But the truth is those people are probably better fitted somewhere else, because for some reason they made a commitment to you they didn't follow up in. So we don't have to get frustrated at them. We just got to find the right fit that will make them go, no, if the church is doing something in this area, that's where I got to be, because I'm part of that. I take ownership in that. I move along within that. And don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged when people flake out or they don't make it. But do this. Always keep asking. Remember, if you're lack of volunteers, it's your job. Keep asking people. If you ask them once, ask them twice, ask them 3 times, ask them 5 times. We don't just do a one and done and forget it. Oh, I just asked and that's just it, and they didn't show up. That's terrible. We do the follow-up. We do all of those things that kind of matter in trying to recruit, to grab people, and to implement them, into our ministries. So the next several weeks, we'll start going over that book. It should come in on Wednesday. I'll let you know what chapters we're going to read. I'm going to send you some points that we're going to look at here. And they're like 16 points that he kind of will focus on throughout the whole book, that I encourage you, listen, or it's 12 points. I would get a notebook side by side with it. I read this years ago. It was a really, really good book. I'm really looking forward to rereading it to remember all the things that I've forgotten in the probably 15 or so years that I had read it a while ago. But I want us to focus on our leadership. I want us to focus on our things that make us tick. Remember, you need something from me. That's why we do the efficiency reports. If you need something from me, Pastor Jimmy, this is what's holding me up, okay? Because if I'm going to do this and I'm going to start coming for feedback, what I'm going to have to stop doing is stop saying, like, now we're getting into excuses, okay? Because I've made every avenue that I can to make sure that you come to me ahead of time, not a week before, not 5 days before. But if you need to start seeing some of the things that are roadblocks in your ministry, and you go, I haven't gotten an answer from this, the worst thing a leader can do is to just sit there and wait. Go, I don't know, I didn't hear anything back. Look at how much that I have to deal with, and sometimes if I omit something, remind me. Never be scared to remind me of something that I told you I would give you an answer to. Moses does every day. And it's good because it keeps me on track. It makes me go, oh yes, that's right. Some things I go, give me a couple days, let me think about it some more. He'll remind me a couple days later. You said to remind you, so I want to remind you. That is so helpful for me, okay? I don't look at that as a bad thing. I look at that as a very, very helpful thing. All right, any questions or comments or discussion points on any of these?
So if we're desperate to have a volunteer and they clear defining roles and responsibilities, we might pass up on potential
Mm-hmm.
volunteer worker. Is there a way we could still have the roles and responsibility, but be a little bit flexible with that, and have someone, either volunteer or hire, but then
I know what you mean.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
but then after a few days or so, we say,
Yeah.
or we don't do that at all. Yeah.
I'll give you an example, okay? So like for everybody here, all right, not to use myself as an example primarily, but like the church is looking into, I'm really pushing us to say our next big hire has to be a young adult pastor, right? Now in my mind, when I look at these roles and responsibilities, I look at, okay, this is Keston's first job as a youth director, so I really want to work closely with him, hand in hand, giving him direction. It's a really small youth group, so we got to not only talk evangelism, we got to talk growth, we got to talk discipleship, we got to talk a plan. I have to be really patient with that because it's his first, this is nothing, it's his first one, it's his first time. Caleb's the same thing. This is all of his first thing. We're in a mentoring relationship. I know Craig has a mountain to run through on the kids ministry. So now the way I look at these, for lack of better words, these are 3 projects that I have here, okay? Not including where ABC's at right now and needs some attention from me right now. So now I got, let's say, 4 projects that I want to serve, okay? I don't want to lord over, but I want to serve. I can't bring on somebody who doesn't have young adult experience. I need somebody who can go, just give me my budget and get out of my way. I need that. So when you're looking at your ministries, the most important thing to do is to say, how many projects? He has projects, people who've never worked with kids right now. He tends to gravitate toward kids who are still in college, still figuring out what it means to be a leader. So he probably needs to look at a worship leader and go, okay, I don't need somebody right now with everything else I have going on as a project. I need somebody who can kind of just take this. These are what I told you. Here's a job description. Go, run with this. So I think, yeah, you can have flexibility when you're clearly defining those roles. What you have to look at, though, is how many projects do you have running at times and who, because honestly, you are not doing justice to that person who might be wanting to figure out where it is that they fit in, because you need that person to just go. You're going to get frustrated with them, you're going to get aggravated, they're never going to meet the expectations, and then they're going to leave the church just mad at everybody and write me a nasty letter, and I don't want that. So I think, yes, flexibility, of course. And here's the thing, if your ministry is like, I got 15 strong leaders, honestly, if I don't even show up, everything goes great. Now I'm going to take on 3 people who, they don't know what the heck they're doing, because I have the time. I have the strength behind me. I can give it to like a Jose, and Jose can run with this, or whoever it might be, and it's all good to go. But I think you have to always clearly look at your thing and to just go, I have 7 projects here right now in people. That's good, but an 8th, it will just blow my mind. So I would look and say, let's run with less for more quality. Then we've got 15 people who don't know what they're doing. What does that do, for you? So you have to kind of measure and monitor that based upon what you can handle and based upon what the ministry needs are there.
What do you do with a volunteer that kids ministry, for example? They see we need help, and there's not a good fit, and you just let them know, like, hey, I care about you. I love your heart. I think you might be better in fill in the blank, whatever other ministry, and they kind of fight you on that.
They still want to be in
They
kids
still
ministry.
they're like, no, I really want to be here. You try to explain to them, it might not be a great. How do you work that? How do you?
Yeah, first it's for me, when that's happened in other churches, that person is my responsibility, right? I have to work hard to gently convince them that this just is not the fit for you. I'm going to take them and try to introduce them. If you use prayer ministry, for example, let's say you've decided as a pastor, they're really good at prayer, they just don't see it yet. Have the conversation with them. Hey, can you trust me? Do me a favor. Get into prayer ministry for 3 months. Let's come back and talk about it. Give it 3 months. Let's see what the Lord does in your heart. If you come back to me and you go, I hate praying for people. Like, it makes me nauseous. I want to throw up. I can't stand Moses or prayer or anything. I want to work with kids. Then you start looking back at that. I would guess the moment, you're a prime example, right? You were in youth ministry, and then you trusted me to say, just give me a shot, and then we see you are murdering it, right? You're absolutely killing it. So there was a discovery of something you yourself have said, I didn't even know I was this, capable and just awesome at this whole thing. So I think we have to kind of gently assert our leadership
Okay.
and say, you're going to have to trust me as a pastor. Let's do 90 days in the prayer ministry, because you have to trust me that I see something in you that maybe you don't see in yourself, and I want you to do that. And I would gently try to lead them with that. Give tangible dates. I promise. Here's 90 days from today, right? You and me are going to sit down, and you're going to come to me, and you're going to say, my gosh, I love prayer ministry. Thank you. I promise you. And if not, we'll come back and we'll look around. What we don't want to do is to just go, well, you can't serve here. That's just it.
Right.
Let's be proactive. Let's put some timetables on it and say, I want you as one of your pastors. Give this a shot. If you hate it afterwards, let's come back and let's see. But just give me that commitment, because I want to see if this is a better fit of something that I see inside of you.
That's good.
Make sense? Anybody else? Yeah.
With that, because there is a difference when you're a pastor, for example, like being able to say, I'm your pastor, please trust me in that. How would I handle that as just a director of a ministry, still young,
Mhm.
still learning the ropes, to be able to work with people,
Yeah.
to know how to talk with them, especially most people that will come up to me will be older than me by at least
Yep.
10 years.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good question. If you are a leader, first of all, you're a leader. There's pastors and there's leaders. You're still a leader in the church, so it means you should walk with a certain amount of authority in what the church and the elders have decided that you are competent to lead in that. So you have to walk into that authority. You know, you have to walk with that strength of saying, I know my ministry. Again, I've clearly defined them, right? I know my style, right? I know my temperament of what I need, and you've asserted that this is not a good fit. One of the things I think that you can also do too as well, and this is where I do become a benefit, is tag team. And I don't think we use that sometimes at a certain point. So you can always come share with me, these are my concerns. You might need, you know, I will sometimes use board members as the same way. People aren't, as the senior pastor, they don't want to hear from me, but all of a sudden I'll tag team a board member and go, listen, this is the full story. Would you mind speaking to this person kind of on my behalf? And sometimes, you know what it is? It's just a different voice. That's it. It's saying the same thing, but they'll receive from that voice of like, here's what we've kind of come to understand as well. So it's a real biblical approach, you know, that you look at it. I think you try to first always walk in your authority, because in these older people, the more you do these maturely, the more you do these with love, always make sure you know, like, this, I love you. Like, I so appreciate that you're a part of this. But I think of Leslie Foley always, of how Leslie Foley was a principal at our last school in New York. And I think in the 5-6 years that we were there, I watched her navigate through more landmines than I've ever seen any leader navigate through in all my life. Like, she had to go through, like, oh my gosh, parents, lawsuits, church people, just like everything that an administrator could ever think is a disaster is a disaster. But she always had this way to look at people and go, very, very subtly, can I just ask you to maybe consider this, you know, as well. And that got her through a lot of things that I think any other leaders would have had our church in court, would have had a bigger problem, but she just kind of brought the fire down of people's passion who didn't want to lead. So walk in your authority. You've got to know, you've been commissioned by the church that you are capable to lead in that. And then if there's still those people who just go, I don't know if I want to listen to you because you're young and what do you know, then you tag one of the pastors in, you know, and you just say, hey, let me bring a pastoral presence, let's just talk about this in between, you know, just to keep the peace, but yet to still see what, you know, each other sees. So I would tag in someone just because sometimes a different voice is all it takes. Sometimes it's saying the same thing, but just a different person. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to bring up that one person that you had tried to call multiple times and they didn't call you back. And then you asked Pastor Billy.
Oh, yeah.
And then that person called you back the next day
Yep.
after Pastor Billy spoke to him.
Yeah. There was a person that I knew had left the church, hadn't told me about it. So I was pursuing, and I must have called and left multiple things. As a senior pastor, I left probably 3 or 4 voicemails, sent 3 or 4 emails, sent texts, and left voicemails on answer machines because I had seen on Facebook that they were going to another church, like somebody else's church Facebook posted. So I just wanted to find out where they were. That was it. Wouldn't respond to anything. I sent Pastor Billy an email. I said, do me a favor. I said, I've sent all of these just so Pastor Billy wrote an email. Hey, so-and-so, just want to let you know, Pastor Jimmy said that he's been trying to get a hold of you. 3 hours later, I got, hey, Pastor Jimmy, I'll be in here on Sunday. I'll be here on Sunday. Is it okay we talk? So we talk. And he goes, I am leaving to go to another church. And I said, I know. And his face just went white. And so the whole point of the matter is Billy didn't say anything that I didn't say. It's just a different voice. Whether it was he respects Billy more than me, that's fine. Whatever it might be, maybe there's just a different connection there. I think it's probably embarrassment, like, oh no, now more people know he's not I'm not calling him, and I don't want this to get out of hand. But that's the benefit of teamwork, right? We work together, and when we work together, then we get to the end result. And that's the whole goal, right? The hardest thing in ministry is don't take it personal, right? Don't take it personal, whether people disrespect your age or your title or whatever it may be. Don't take it personal, but it comes by us making sure we're not making it personal as well.
This is so good. I love it. If it's okay, I was listening to what Pastor Craig and Michaela were sharing, and something popped into my head. And is there opportunities for the congregation to visit and experience the different parts of the ministry? Like, I was thinking about the technical schools. When kids are going to learn if they want to be a hairdresser or work in childcare, they go to that technical school. Your first year is visiting all to make sure. So learning that, okay, this may not be that ministry for me. Are there opportunities for them to visit the prayer ministry or the different mission? Because sometimes people really don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you hear about missions and just the traveling. It's not just traveling, because in my head, sometimes as a lay member, you think missions is just traveling the world,
Yeah.
but it's more than that. But I just don't know. But it does sound kind of interesting. But are there opportunities for the church people to try just to really see all the different gifts and ministries that are out there, to see if
Yeah.
Did Bethlehem do that?
We
Like
did
a job
ministry
fair? Ministry
yeah, we would
fair?
do like a ministry fair. We talked about that years ago, doing it, and it just never took off. One of the things I think we have to do is figure out ways to champion our ministries. I think we're like in step one of that. Like, we're all still the growing pains of learning, like, okay, the pulpit is not an option for announcements because we've removed those. And so I think we're kind of in step one of like feeling those growing pains, whether it's ministries in here or ministries in the church that people are leading, going like, nope, we're not doing announcements per se, unless it's like a specialized, it's really got to feel fit. We're kind of on month one of that. I think step two will have to be everybody examining themselves and going, how am I going to communicate my ministry to people? What is it that's going to be attraction about the youth that people will see coming out of there, whatever it might be? TCM, is it social media platforms, is it mailers, is it just, let's look at everything and see what it is. So that kind of personal ownership, that if we're overseeing a ministry, I think we're growing into that. We're bad at it right now. We're not giving people the experience to do it. I have some ideas of wanting to add that into our membership class, and saying, okay, the membership class, we have to represent our ministry some way well there, at a certain point, to at least catch these new members who haven't been sitting for 40 years doing nothing, but like people who go, want to do something. So it's a really good point. But everybody's got to think in those terms. How do I champion my ministry? What do I do? Because we can't just rely on the pulpit and signs and things like that. It's got to be more. There has to be more that gets us out there.
And I think it's important too. And I think this is kind of going to what you're saying is, everybody that I've talked to in leadership is always come observe. Come see what it's like. Like anytime I have a person that's even remotely interested, come check it out, try it for a week or two, and then we'll talk. There's no expectations on them.
Mm-hmm.
Just come, just be a part of it. And then if you're still interested, then we'll start talking about kind of like what part you can play in it and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And one of the key things too, guys, we'll end it with this, is get people involved, okay? I think push yourself to say, away from the notion that you have to do everything, and give people ministry. Let them make mistakes. Let them fall down. Position yourself in a place that your job is to pick them up, dust them off, and say, let's do it a little different. Let's figure out what not to do. I think you and I have jumped into that in this first year of there's plenty of things he's coming. He's like, I will do that totally different. Well, he can say that openly to me because what I've done is given him permission to say, go make mistakes. Spend money, make some mistakes, see what works, what doesn't. And I love that because he will always come and go, I will not do it that way again. Well, if I made him all bunched up, like everything has to be successful or you're just going to whatever, he would never tell me that. I wouldn't know his heart. I would just sit there and I would get frustrated at him and go, well, this is failing and this is that. But I know that he's going to go back to the drawing board and go, okay, we're going to do this a little bit different, because there's that ability for him to explore, to experiment, all of those things. So I said it a million times in these meetings, you go out on our core values. What are one of the things that it says on there? For a church that wants to take risks. Take risks in people, you know. Obviously make sure that they fit in what they are. But when you don't know someone, take a risk on them and see. By, even if it's a little bit of what you've seen, being gracious that you can handle it. But let's take some risks as leaders as well and go, you know what, I want to try this to communicate my ministry out there. Let's see if this works. Throw caution to the wind. But build your team. Give them ministry. Give them the opportunity to make some mistakes as long as they fit in what you want to do. Let them fall down and pick them back up. Those will be the most loyal people that you'll find in the midst of your ministry. Okay? Very good. Anything else?
Very good.
All right. All right. Let's pray. Lord, I thank you for my friends and these leaders here, God. And I pray, Lord, that you inspire them for your good works. God, inspire them for your kingdom and be glorified through everything that we do, Lord. Thank you for our people, God, and the volunteers, Lord, that may watch this at some point if we send them some of these leadership things of thank you that they want to help us build great teams in the midst of our ministries. And we pray, Lord, you'll send in the workers. Send in quality workers who can do great, mighty things for your kingdom, Lord. We love you, Jesus. We thank you for everything. In your mighty name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, you can.